Time for our series of segments on what it means to be an accompanist, musical director, and many other things in reality on this planet. I already know what it means on Larry's planet. I've worked with problem theater people before. If Larry had doubts about my credentials, the time to check them is before hiring me, but I guess better late than never. The director of the first choir I accompanied seemed confident enough in my flatness of what it meant to be an accompanist that she had me accompany her choir in the Christmas concert. This was not in a small school in a small town, a small private school in a small town. It was in a public school in Seattle. I was 12, in the 7th grade, 27 and a half years ago. When I was in the 9th grade, I won first place in the area competition, piano competition with the solo piano arrangement of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. And at the same time, I accompanied the musical theater production at CHS, which I did again in the 10th grade. We competed at the state competitions in Stanton and won first and second place in the state with those two shows, those 2 years. The next year, when I was a student at Tandem, they hired me to accompany the show, and since I didn't drive yet, the director or a student would pick me up from Tandem, take me to CHS, and then take me home. Seems I had it pretty flat then. The reason I'm doing all this is not to impress you with my credentials, but to impress you with the comparison between my credentials and what Larry thinks it means to be an accompanist. I think I remember seeing that Larry's got a master's degree in acting from UVA. Is that correct? Bachelor's in psychology. No musical background at all. My degree is in music. I've met several of your music teachers over the past 7 years since I've moved back. Do any of them have music degrees? Not that you need one. I'm not saying you need one. Just, I'm responding to this, what it means to be an accompanist. Can't really graduate from music school without knowing what an accompanist is. At some point you're going to have to work with one. Or in my case, be one. I graduated with a 3.89 GPA in 2000. Magna cum laude. 1/100th of a point away from summa cum laude. Got a B or two in there. Was working all the time, you know. While earning my degree, I accompanied several classical singers and instrumentalists, several jazz instrumentalists, and every jazz singer in the department. I was the student representative of the jazz department's faculty search committee. During this time, I was also the accompanist of choice for all of the professional theater companies in the area. The professional theater companies in the area, including the second largest and the largest non-union children's theater company in the country. Got a nice birthday card from the long-standing artistic director there, calling me one of Virginia's finest. He seems to think I've got it pretty flat. Less than a year after graduating, I was hired by the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra to replace their pianist of around 20 years and tour internationally with them, which I did for the next 2 years before moving back home in 2003 to take over the Suzuki piano business for my childhood teacher, so widely regarded as the best piano teacher in town that the owner of Heinz Musitronics took his daughter to me for lessons, although he's got teachers in his own store. I had such a good rapport with the singer in the Dorsey band, Walt Andrus, Frank Sinatra's successor in the band for around 20 years, that we reintroduced the song One for My Baby and Another for the Road, which is just solo piano accompaniment, while the whole big band takes a break. You can find that on myspace.com/EvanMookTDO4. While I was working for your school, I was rehearsing and recording with Maxine Jones of the female R&B group En Vogue, winner of more awards than any other female group in MTV history. I had it flat enough for her. I actually had to cancel several rehearsals with her while working for your school because I had this musical emergency, a 2+ hour train wreck to try to save. I just finished my 3rd year working as an accompanist for the Richmond Ballet. I've worked regularly as an accompanist for 10 schools in Charlottesville. For singers who sing both jazz and classical, this has come up a few times recently. I am, to the best of my knowledge and theirs, the only pianist in town that does both. In this email, again, I give you all that not to brag, but just for comparison. In this email, where Larry gets it flat with me what it means to be an accompanist, he says that singers can't sing over the piano. Seriously. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm not making this up, not exaggerating, not taking it out of context, not being hyperbolic. Here, I'll copy and paste, and let's see. Quote, "We can't sing over the piano." He actually says this. He says, "Perhaps we should have discussed what it meant to be an accompanist to start with, but I think it's best we get it flat now," and then says, "We can't sing over the bleeding piano." He, the director of musical theater at Tandem Friends School, acting now as the musical director, says this. He says that this is why the singers need to sing on top of an amplified rock band. Again, not kidding. He says that it's impossible to have microphones in that room. The sound engineer told him so. Oh, well then it must be true. All 3 of these statements by themselves are beyond unprofessional, beyond incompetent, can only be described as literally stupid beyond comprehension. His email ends with the words, "If you can't do the job, please tell me immediately." So I'm not more stuck than I'd be if you left at the last minute. Where did that come from? I was completely out of the blue. I have been completely professional at all times, like always. Was never late, like always. Have never done anything of the sort, ever. Breach contract, leave a show at the last minute. And in my one previous experience with Mr. Goldstein, he had breached contract, leaving me to suffer the detriment after relying on and keeping myself available for that job of being out $1,000.